What's up, y'all? How we doing out there tonight? Welcome back to the Black Revolution Podcast. I'm your host and commander-in-chief, Steve. How we doing, y'all? I hope everyone's doing well. And I would like to say this, guys. I think I may have got a significant crack in the case to the understanding of what happened to our little brother, Nolan Wells. I put it out on TikTok already. It should be spreading like wildfire by now. And now I'm going to put it up on YouTube because I feel that it's the truth, right? I'm a man that I don't get involved with foolish business, right? If something is foolish and I deem it trivial, I won't deal with it. But this, what I'm about to show you, is 100% a lie. I believe Nolan Wells was on that boat. I'm believing the phone call of the calls that the kids made to the TATUM company. I believe that Wyatt, check his chest and all that stuff that has supposed to have been said is true now. And now I'm going to get into showing you why. Stay with me. One thing's for certain, brothers and sisters, and that is when you lie one time, you have to keep that lie going. And if you lie and you don't keep that one lie going, you got to tell another lie, then you got to tell another one and another one and another one. That has happened. And guys say Officer Tatum, oh, he's a sellout, whatever. I don't know nothing about that. But you can learn something from his video, just like I did just now. And I'm going to present this to you at this moment. I say Nolan Wells was on the boat. Why do I say that? For the simple reason of this. I'm going to play the interview for you now from Officer Tatum when he went to Horn Island and he interviewed the brother, the white guy. His last name is Houston or Hudson. I don't know what his first name is. But I'm going to play it for you and show it to you so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Pay attention to the question that Officer Tatum asks him.
Left Nolan behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left him. I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat. He didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So I opened the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit, and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in an emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with, and the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah.
He leaves it like that. He leaves it like that, right? So Nolan decided to stay on the island, right, with the girl. You heard him say that clearly, okay? This is one of the guys that were with Nolan on the boat. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl. And there's a girl who can bear witness to this, he says. Now let me show you something else. See, because I smell a liar, right? And because if it wasn't that this podcast brought this back to my mind, I probably would have been going for the stories that are out now from these kids as they were interviewed. But now I think they're liars. And I'm going to show you why. Here's another podcast, right? This one is called The Comm Center. The Comm Center. I don't know if you can see that. Let me turn it this way. And on the Comm Center, this man recalls and brought back to my memory the calls that were made on the day that they got back in from Horn Island. Listen to what he says. Uh-oh.
Who determines the priority is kind of low, but however, they did respond to them. You have a call from a friend who made it to dry land and is wondering, where's Nolan? So he calls Nolan's mom.
Wait.
Now, Nolan's mom Nolan was not even mentioned in that call. We could talk about the calls that were actually about him. We have the phone call to Cito, who determines the priority is kind of low, but however, they did respond to them. You have a call from a friend who made it to dry land and is wondering, where's Nolan? So he calls Nolan's mom. Now, Nolan's mom is understandably upset.
Okay. I shouldn't have to play anymore. I shouldn't have to play anymore. You should have caught it by now. You should have caught it by now. In the previous video, the Officer Tatum is interviewing the man who was there and told Nolan, and he said his buddy also told him, get on the boat, we're leaving. If that's the case, how come all of you on the boat that Nolan was supposed to get on left and knew he was staying? How come when you get to the main island, one of you guys calls the mother, look, Nolan is missing? How could you say that when you know you just left Nolan on the island and Nolan said, no, I'm staying back with this chick. I'm trying to get me a little bit. Somebody's lying somewhere. Do you understand? Somebody's lying somewhere. If I'm on that boat and I witness all of us, yeah, Nolan, come on, man. Come on, we got to go. And I'm riding back on the boat and, we're going to be talking. Yeah, well, Nolan decided to stay with the girl. How do I get in my mind, when I get back to the mainland, Nolan is missing? How? Okay, fine. You could say this. Well, you know what? He probably was on a boat that left earlier and he just didn't know Nolan's. I say, okay, fine. But in order for him to come to that assumption, he would have had to talk to everybody else when the other two boats came in. Then he would have had to realize from them that Nolan was missing. And at that time, he could not have realized that because they would have told him, nah, man, Nolan stayed on the island. And he would have found out anyway. And he wouldn't have had no need to make the call and say, guess what? Nolan's missing to his mom. The call was a cover-up. I wanted to believe those kids. I really did. And I hope I'm still wrong. But I think they're lying. They're lying. Nolan was on that boat. He was on the boat when it left. Some ish happened on that boat and Nolan was unalived. And we have the phone call now to the CETO company from one of the guys that's on the boat. You hear in the background, Wyatt, check his chest. Oh my God, no, wake the fuck up. Some people say it's AI, but because of what I just showed you, I believe it's true. Now here's a part that's not AI. The grandfather calls, right, and speaks to one of the guys at CETO. The guy clearly says in the audio, no, I was just on the phone with his grandfather. He says they're fine, they're all right. They must have got things sorted out. They don't need a tow. What happened? If these things are correct, right, we still don't know, but if all of this evidence is correct, guess what? Means that Nolan was unalived on that boat for whatever happened. We don't know. The kid who was on the boat, 9 times out of 10, his grandfather owned it. They were going crazy. Oh my God, Nolan, no. And they're also calling people, taking pictures. Yo, Nolan is, Dude says, calm down. My granddad will know exactly what to do. Let me call him. Calls the granddad. Dad, look, this what happened. Shut up, boy. Don't do nothing until I get back to you. He calls the good old judge. She puts a gag on. Everybody be quiet. Granddad calls back the tow company. No, they're all right. They're good. They got it. They're cool. Now, when you go inside inland, wherever way you go, the communication is there. Shut up. Scrub your phones. Kill your social media apps. And they did all of this and lawyered up at a time before they knew anything nefarious happened to Nolan. What does that tell you, brothers and sisters? These kids are lying. If the phone call is legit, it's not AI. I don't think it's AI. If it's not AI and that's a true call to the CETO, we cracked this case already. We cracked it already. Nothing else to talk about. All it means is that Nolan was unalived on the boat. Now, how he got unalived, I don't know. But they called the granddad. Granddad called the judge because her son is also on that boat and he's at jeopardy. His future is in jeopardy. So she said, shh, tell them to come here. Scrub all your social media. Close down your accounts. Don't talk to nobody. That would explain why when Nolan Wells' father came to the house to retrieve the keys and the wallet, he said they were standoffish. Yo, you have the key, you got the wallet. Nah, we don't have it. Then after the police, they call the police, the door opens up, he hands them Nolan's property. Call the police now. And the father said he closed the door and act like he didn't want to have nothing to do with nothing that was outside because the gag order was already put in place. He called the cops so the father wouldn't come and go in there and tear that house apart. See? And then lock the door to make sure he's safe. He called the cops, right? That's what happened. And remember, the father said, once he lied to me, there's nothing else he could say out of his mouth that gives him any credibility. I don't believe nothing he say. That's what the father said on the press conference, right? That would explain why the kid was standoffish to the father, because if that's your friend, Nolan is my great buddy, he's my best guy. Yo, I'm telling you, I'm so sorry what happened to Nolan because he was the sweetest guy and yada, 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 yada. Then why were you so standoffish to the father? Who's the father of your friend that you love so much? What was the big deal in just giving him the key and the wallet and let him go about his business? And you could have even been more of a gentleman. Look, Mr. Wellesley, I don't know. Last time I seen Nolan, that's what you should have been doing. Well, I don't know, man. He stayed on the island with a girl. You should have been forthcoming with information, but you got the gag order because you guys lied, man. You did something to that boy on that boat, man. We don't know what it is that you did. But I know when you lie one time, you better keep that lie up, because if you don't and you tell another lie, you're going to have to tell another one and another one. And sooner or later, we're going to see that don't match what you said the first time. Just like Big Mouth here. See, when it first happened, Nolan went missing. They did tell us one of the friends called the mom and said Nolan was missing. I remember that. But Big Mouth here, Mr. Hudson, wait a minute, let me show you him again. And Mr. TATUM, right? Big Mouth here,
Tom Ogle,
he must have forgot about that. He must have forgot about it because he says clearly, Nolan, we told him, and a buddy of mine told him, get on the boat, Nolan. He refused.
Behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left him. I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat. He didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues, and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So I opened the back hatch, and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit, and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in an emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with, and the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah.
See how he leaves it alone?
I'm glad you.
That reaction right there tells me that it's a lie. Here's another lie. The boat is in so much trouble, we're trying to save the boat. That's what he just said. But when on the call, the operator says, do you not guys need me to send out the Coast Guard? No, we don't need them. No, we don't need them. That's what he said. We definitely don't want them because we got something else going on here other than this pump in this boat, so-called broken. And then mysteriously, the boat gets miraculously fixed. No more need of nobody. The grandfather called, oh, they're all right. They're cool. 2 days later, Nolan Wells washes up on the northern side of Horn Island. I think this may be a significant crack in this case. And I pray that the right people see this video that I just put up. I put it all over TikTok. But remember, brothers and sisters, when you tell one lie, you always have to stick to it. Because what you say, people listen. Like me, I'm a good listener. And when you say something different, I'm going to be like, boom. You get what I'm saying? So I just put this short video out so you guys can see it for yourself. I want you guys to share the video, go to the sources. And the name of the podcast where the man recalls all the telephone calls that were made is called the Comm Center. The word the, C-O-M-M, and then center. And it's titled "The Call Everyone Heard, but the Call No One Heard," or no one remembers, something to that effect. It's called the Comm Center. Go there, compare what he said, and compare what this guy said. We all told him to get on the boat. He stayed there with the girl, and there's a girl that can testify to that. They're talking about Katie. Katie already said, no, Nolan told me he was going back with his friends. So that has to imply that it came a time when Nolan said, I'm leaving, I'm going to go back, and he left her. Because he said he was going to go back with his friends. She didn't say, I went with him to the boat and he left me and went back with his friends. She said he was going to go back with his friends, implying he had to leave from her company to get back to the boat. Something happened on that boat. How do we know it? We caught the lie. We told a buddy of mine, I told him, get on the boat, Nolan, let's go back. Nolan chose to stay on the island with that girl, and the girl can attest to it. If that's the case, how come then when you guys get back to the mainland, one of you decides to call and say, Nolan's missing? Could have said that. He would have known what Nolan was doing because he just left him on the island about an hour ago. See how it doesn't make sense? When you lie one time, you better keep that lie. The minute you say something different, it's people like me that's going to catch up to it. I'm going to hear it, and I'm going to expose it in this case because that family needs justice. That's a hurting family, man. That's a hurting family. You took a good boy from here. That wasn't one of these kids that are fuck-ups in the street. No, that kid was in college. He was trying to make D1 Monday, perhaps go to the league. He'd have been a great kid because his parents were great. He came from a good home. And even if it's an accident, something accidental, come clean. Tell us so his family can get justice, man. You got to remember, these are people that are going to be hurting for the rest of their lives, even if they find out it was an accident. You can never fill that void and that pain that they're going to have. You're talking mother, father, siblings, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles. They deserve the truth. They deserve it. So I hope that this made some sense. I want to find out that it's a lie, that boys are telling the truth. The phone call's fake. But one thing is not fake. This man right here told Officer Tatum, we told Nolan to get on the boat. My buddy told him to get on the boat. Nolan says he chooses to stay with the girl. And now we remember from the other podcast where he presents the phone calls that were made. A friend of Nolan's that was on the boat with him reported him missing. How could the friend report him missing? And you know the friend was with them because he said the friend that made it on land. So you had to travel from Horn Island over the sea in the boat to get to land. It's not like a friend that was on land and heard and then called. No, he said the friend, once he got on land, called up. That's factual. That is, even if the phone call is fake. What I just showed you about this dude saying they told him to get on the boat, and the friend gets to the island an hour later after they tell Nolan to get on the boat, hour and a half, whatever long it took, and call and say Nolan's missing. That's a lie, man. That's a lie. And I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's the bombshell right now. I think that's a bombshell right now. And I hope the authorities, the proper authorities, get to see this. And they build a case off of this. Let the FBI see it. Right? I'm going to get off here now, man, because I got to calm down. I'm very emotional about this case, man. Because that boy didn't deserve that. That guy was a kid. He was just a kid, innocent kid. You know? He didn't deserve that. And he was a good kid. He would have been something, God willing. Let's get to the truth, man. If any of you guys see this video of mine and you were there and you know what I'm saying is true, do the right thing, bro. That's all. Do the right thing. Until next time, this is your brother Steve at the Black Revolution Podcast. Please hit that subscribe button now. Like this video so you can get me out there, please. I'm a good man. I care for my people, and I'm trying to bring us all together. And I'm also trying to work on solving our problems that try and help us love one another as black people so we can stop hurting each other. We can't fight ourselves and fight the enemy too, man. Just can't do it. So till next time, I bid you peace. Peace and love.